Hi everyone, my name is Egor. My story is completely fictional, but based on real cases that happened in Avito, where I'm responsible for client-side platform development. All names, circumstances, and facts are changed. This talk should be especially useful for people working on products for other developers, either as a full-time job or in open source. Our main hero is Ivan. Ivan is an engineer just like you and me. And today is a lucky day for Ivan. He's got an offer in a super popular company in IT community, which he aimed for the last 5 years. Let it be Avito, but for cats. And Ivan is a cat too. A cat Avito is a large company. A couple of hundreds of developers, many of which work not on end-user product, but on technical platform. The company strongly believes that it will help them to scale and win their competitors. The platform is really large. It includes their own cloud, a couple of in-house storage solutions, various architecture components. Ivan was employed in a team working on a design system for mobile apps. Well, you know, it's a kind of a library with reused UI components. Ivan's first workday starts with his mentor. Instead of long onboarding, he suggests to check the repo and look at the code. Ivan does it, launches the product, and opens IDE. His first reaction is a culture shock. It's the best thing that he saw in his life. Each component's code is ideally written, covered with documentation and unit tests, designed with Solid in mind. The components catalog is a separate application with millions of possibilities. It allows to change each component appearance, compose multiple components through drag and drop, write comments, create tasks for designers and developers. It literally can do everything. Under the hood, it is also really great. Unidirectional architecture, no massive view controllers or other anti-patterns. Ivan understands that his dreams came true and he found the best team in his life. Ivan's first task once again makes him extremely happy. He's responsible for implementing a collaborative editing in components catalog. The use case is, a component should be edited simultaneously by a designer and a developer. When this feature will be implemented, designers and developers will be able to work entirely in the app instead of personal meetings. And nobody likes meetings, right? And besides collaborative editing, there should also be a chat. Switching from a catalog to Slack may be too frustrating, right? Ivan goes in a cafeteria for lunch. There he gets acquainted with several developers from product teams. They talk a lot about the product, new app features, development problems. When Ivan tells that he's working on the design system, everybody starts looking at him with grin. "We stopped using it a long ago," tells one of them, Olga. "You just don't have components we need, and your team isn't going to develop them. We tried to create them ourselves, but you blocked our pull requests because we were not able to follow your strict coding standards." Ivan doesn't lose his heart and tells everyone about a new feature he is about to implement. Once again, Olga doesn't show any interest. Why do we ever want to do it when our designer sits right here in our team and doesn't need a standalone system to talk with a developer? And we already use Sketch and Zeppelin that are capable of all these things. The lunch ends in awkward silence. On the next day, Ivan discusses their situation with his team. Boris laughs, typical Olga, and tells a long story of their war with product teams that didn't want to use components and invest in clean code. They just don't know what they really need. We're giving them new possibilities and they throw them away. Creating new components is not a priority for us. It is dull and routine work. Component catalog is a much better investment. It should be as functional and convenient as possible. Suddenly, everyone in the team receives an email. They are asked to come to a meeting room together with other platform teams. Nikolai, an engineering director, takes a word. "Sorry guys, we got bad news here. In 3 months, our teams will be unformed and you'll go to various product teams. Our management doesn't believe in us anymore. They haven't seen anything valuable from us for a long time. They don't know what we are doing, and all they have from product teams is a negative feedback. I've tried to get the situation back to normal, but didn't succeed. All I can do now is to gently freeze all of the ongoing projects and keep waiting. You have 3 months. There are a lot of questions and discussions after Nikolai's speech, but Ivan doesn't hear anything. His dream is ruining towards his eyes. Silently, he walks out of the office. After some time walking, Ivan calls his former colleague, Natasha, who is a product manager. He wants to know if it's still possible to return on his previous job. After telling the whole story to Natasha, he has the question, what is the component system and goal? Ivan thinks a little. To make a universal and functional design system? No, that's not correct goal. You have to think about it more. Recall all the product management practices we used together in our job. I think that there is not so much difference between building products for developers and for real users. On the next day, Ivan comes to his demotivated team with a bunch of ideas. The first thing they have to do is to understand the essence of their technical product. Ivan decides to use a familiar instrument, Lean Canvas. It's a really useful and brief way to describe the product vision. Ivan changed the traditional scheme a bit to make it more suited for platform development. After working on Lean Canvas for the whole day, team got the following result. Top problems that a product is going to fix. In Ivan's case, it's the number of UI bugs and complex interactions between designers and developers. The target audience, who is going to benefit from the product. In case of design system, there are 2 primary audiences, mobile developers and designers. Boris also suggested to add QA specialists and product managers, but Ivan convinced him not to include them because it will blow their focus. Product mission statement. It's a short phrase that summarizes what the product is made for. It is just like an elevator pitch, but for elevator that moves with the speed of light. Top features. These are killer features that are in the core of your technical product. In our case, the features are components code is a single source of truth, automated interaction between designer and developer, and fast snapshot testing. Adoption strategy. That's a plan of how you will grow the audience of the product. Key metrics that will help you to understand if you are moving in the right direction. The team decides to watch for the daily sessions in the catalog application and the number of UI bugs. Alternative product section help you to understand if you have any competitors and how your audience currently solves their problem. Risks and countermetrics, everything that can make you fail. In our case, the team selected only one risk, that developers won't have time for refactoring because their manager won't let them do it. And the last but not least important section, why you. You should understand your key strengths and competencies that will help you. Ivan's team, for example, has a really strong technical domain knowledge, and they already have a solid technical platform to build new features on. So that's the completed Lean Canvas model for mobile design system. At the end of the day, Ivan launches Net Promoter Score. It's a simple poll for his target audience. It will help him to understand the current situation and if his product is useful. The poll consists of 2 questions. How likely is that you will recommend our design system to your colleagues? And explain your answer. Based on their responses, customers fall into one of 3 groups: promoters, passives, or detectors. Promoters are loyal enthusiasts who are happy with the product and will promote it to their colleagues. Passives are satisfied but unenthusiastic customers who can easily switch to another product. And detectors are unhappy customers who have the potential to damage your product. To calculate your NPS, you should subtract the percentage of detractors from the percentage of promoters. The higher the score is, the better your product is for your customer base. After sending the poll to everyone from the target audience, Ivan goes home. Despite the hard work, many things from the Lean Canvas worry him. Some key assumptions, like customer problems and top features, seem to be proved only by the team expert opinion. And Ivan knows that decisions made by opinionated developers are most often harmful for their customers. However, the team did a great job and systematized their vision of the product. By lunch, Ivan receives most answers. The NPS is extremely low, minus 80 points. The only positive feedback came from people who didn't use the design system before and just read about its features. In the raw form, NPS answers are not very actionable, so Ivan starts to analyze them. At first, Ivan deletes everything besides negative feedback. Then he clusters the feedback and gives each cluster a meaningful name. He tries not to decompose clusters too much because he doesn't have so many answers. Then he counts the priority for each cluster using the standard NPS formula, % of promoters minus % of detractors. This time, the score in both cases is minus 100. No one told the kind word. So, in the end, Ivan got two primary problems. Designers don't know anything about the product and its capabilities, and developers don't use it because it's too hard to integrate components on new screen, change existing ones, or create new components. Ivan writes out all detractors who gave a meaningful and detailed feedback. He sends each one an invite to a short 15-minute interview. The goal of such interviews is to define the primary problems and pains of each customer and understand how he solves them. Developer interviews helps to validate some key assumptions by talking to a representative member of a target audience. Ivan recalls some advices from Natasha for conducting such interviews. At first, always prefer face-to-face communication to Messenger or email. Texting doesn't let you to build a strong personal contact in a short time. Secondly, always ask open questions. Don't let yourself to direct respondents to answers you want to hear. For example, bad questions are, do you want us to build feature X, or would you use feature X if it would be available? And don't follow a strict set of questions. Be free to change your plan for each respondent so that your dialogue will flow uninterrupted. Interviews passed with a variable success. Most people made contact with ease, but there also were some haters. However, one thing remained constant. No one considered current team focuses important or useful. Besides it, Ivan was able to identify a pretty strong insight list. The first insight: the development speed is incredibly important for all respondents. The main pain points are the lack of needed components in the system and difficulty of building new components. The second insight: designers are not involved in UI development using the component system. All teams use Sketch and Zeppelin as a primary design stack and don't see any profit from switching to not so powerful proprietary system. Besides it, they also suffer from the lack of the same components in Sketch. When Ivan showed the results to his team, nobody told a word. Suddenly everyone, even Boris, realized that they spent last year building a very complex system that doesn't solve any real problems. And their expert opinion completely failed in front of the customer's real needs. Ivan sees that he should do something and don't let the team fall into depression. So he asks everyone to go to the bar. Besides the team, he also calls Natasha, his former product manager, to join them. Ivan buys everyone beer and briefly tells Natasha about their results, shows link canvas and NPS results. Natasha doesn't give them much attention and once again asks, what is the goal of your product? And now Ivan knows the answer. To fasten user interfaces development, and it will be possible only if we provide maximum component coverage. And do you move towards this goal? No, and we don't know how, because we spent last year building what we wanted without knowing our users. Natasha tells team about a couple of new concepts. The first one is Pivot. Pivot is a correction of product course designed to test fundamentally new assumptions. Looks like that's exactly what Ivan's design system need. The team knows what they have been doing wrong, and they have a pretty strong insight list of what customers need. The next concept is MVP. MVP is a minimal viable product. It's the simplest possible version of a product that is capable of testing your assumptions. In the case of a design system, it means deprecation of an old component catalog, refactoring current components to better suit early adopters' needs, and adding Sketch UI kit. After a couple of hours, the team and Natasha forms a list of next actions for making a pivot. Firstly, they should choose some early adopters. Early adopters are customers deeply involved in the process of developing and testing MVP. They are beta testers for all new features. They provide feedback and help you to refine product vision. For current case, choosing one product team would be enough. Secondly, they should ask a designer to help them form a UI kit in Sketch. Move all the components from their beloved catalog to a tool everybody in the company uses. And third, they should develop a set of components enough for building new features for early adopters. Well, that looks like a plan. However, the team got nothing to lose and only 3 months, well, 2 months and 28 days left. Another 2 weeks passed. Olga, the one who hated the components catalog on the first Ivan's day in Avito, became an early adopter and built a new feature using components. She's not satisfied yet, but she likes what the team currently does. She provides lots of feature requests and involves designers in working with design system. Ivan goes to an engineering director to present the pivot, its first results, and updated link canvas. Besides everything else, it has a new set of metrics the team plans to measure. The development speed for typical tasks, the percentage of screens migrated to components, and the percentage of components usage in new features. Nikolai approves the approach with joy. If the team will show a significant growth in these metrics, it may be enough to save it from being disbanded. Another month passes. The team actively develops new components and feature requests from early adopters. The old component catalog is fully deprecated. But they face a new problem. Metrics don't grow, because still nobody uses the design system except Olga and a couple of other early adopters. As usual, Ivan goes to Natasha for an advice. Natasha laughs. How could you forget about marketing plans that we developed for our new features? You have the very same situation here. You've got customers, you want to make them happy, but they don't know about you and your product. But you can buy ads traffic, start a marketing campaign in federal TV, and buy some billboards on the street because we are building an internal developer tool. Think about the instruments you currently have. Of course, the scale is much smaller, but the approach remains the same. Ivan goes to office and tries to recall the marketing plan development. Firstly, you should segment your target audience. Secondly, you should choose the most appropriate acquisition channel for each segment. And third, you should schedule all the activities. Speaking about technical products, you should segment the audience based not only on their specialization, but based on their real use cases, usage scenarios. Ivan selected the following categories. At first, a developer who wants to know, do we have all the components needed for his feature? The second group, a developer who wants to create a new component or to change an existing one. And the third group is a designer who is working on a new feature layout. After it, Ivan writes all available marketing instruments: a developer portal, usage guides, meetups, workshops, in-house mailing lists, and others. Looks like things start to form a plan. A developer portal should be an entry point for everybody. It will contain all the information about the product, event schedule, contacts, architecture, and other. And what is important, that it should be structured so that each customer segment will find what he needs in minimum amount of time. The information about the portal will be spread using mailing lists and corporate blog. For the first segment, Ivan decided to create a simple components catalog. Not that one from the beginning of his work, but something much more simple. Just a web page with the list of the components and their screenshots. For developers and designers interested in working with components, Ivan plans to conduct a series of meetups, workshops, demo, and blog posts. The primary goal is to be sure that everyone knows what the design system is, what is it capable of, and what are all the new features. It should help Ivan to form a community around the product, who will help each other, make feature requests, and be evangelists of the product. Using a design system should be trendy. So, Ivan formed a content plan for the following couple of months. It determines what information different segments are interested in and what channels to use. Ivan presents it to a team. Looks like everyone is really engaged and believes in it. So Ivan starts to work and continue to look at the metrics. 3 months passed since Ivan's first work day. It was a really tough time. Ivan and his team faced challenges that they have never thought of before. They spent lots of time working with the community instead of writing code, which was really uncommon for them. And that really helped. Design system is used by many teams. Metrics show significant growth, and backlog keeps growing with feature requests. Of course, there are also new problems. How to prioritize a backlog when multiple teams depend on a product, how to manage the versioning policy of the design system and its components, and many more. But at the end, Ivan and his team were able to return their product back to life and start making product teams happy and productive. Nikolai, the engineering director, asks Ivan to join him for a lunch after a regular team demo. They talk a lot about differences between product and platform teams, developer experience, and other topics. At the end of the lunch, Ivan asks, "What about my probation period? Is it over? I still haven't received any letter and I'm starting to worry." Nikolai smiles, but news first. "I don't think that you should stay in your team and develop the design system." Before Ivan says anything, he continues. "I'm sure that it would be much better for you and our company if you change your focus to integrating all the practices we discussed in all of our platform teams. Chief Developer Experience Specialist, what do you think? And yes, I'm expecting results from you in 3 months." So, this is the end of the story. Besides Ivan and his tough 3 months, we discussed many different things that can help you build a brilliant technical product. Lean Canvas, Net Promoter Score, deep interviews, developer portal, and many more. But there are more practices behind developer experience that we didn't discuss. Dog fooding, developer experience sessions and patterns, documentation, and others. I'll be more than happy to tell you about it in the format of blog posts or maybe something else. Be sure to write me if you are interested. And if you will remember only one thing from my talk, let it be the following one. While building developer tools, treat them like real products. While doing something for developers, treat them like real customers. And if you do so, you won't repeat many mistakes that Ivan and me made. Thank you.
Thank you. That's really interesting, and I would like to actually use that a bit more in my own team, which is here, by the way. Are you here, guys?
Where can I sit?
In the middle.
Where you want.
Great.
The biggest problem when I want to actually implement that is where do I find a good Natasha, like someone with to be a guide like that.
In Moscow.
Oh, really? Then we will move, guys. Ready for that? Not sure. Do you think, like, as a developer, we can try to promote those ideas internally in our companies?
Can you repeat?
Yeah, as a developer, can I promote that kind of ideas in my company? Like, how do you do that?
I think yes. In my company, it started not from developers, but they quickly liked what we wanted to build. They liked the idea of developer experience framework, is how we call this approach. And many of them became the evangelists of it. So they went to their team, they created a backlog, they selected who their user groups are, they made a lot of interviews. Many of their technical products were deprecated at that moment because they understood that it's something unneeded that nobody uses. It was a tough time.
Just to better understand, how big is your company, Avito?
About 500 developers.
Okay.
And maybe a third of them work in technical platform.
All right. And what do you think, in your opinion, what is the critical size for having one person like that? I mean, one ZX developer experience expert.
It depends not on the size of the team, but on what your team does. Because even if you have maybe 2 applications in your company and you already want to reuse some modules or some components or maybe some shared frameworks, you may already select one platform guy who will build these things. And in this moment, you should already think about developer experience, because for this guy, his customers, his end users are you developers.
Okay.
And can you tell a bit more about how do you like map this or bring that to the backlog? How do you make the link between the backlog and
where the insights that you get from NPS or from interviews, they can form a backlog of pains. We call it pain backlog. When you have pain backlog, you should start a discovery process. You should make some assumptions of how you can relieve some pains. So maybe if the pain is a development speed is low, you may test things like let's build reusable components to speed up, or maybe let's improve our CI/CD process to speed up. Then you try to get MVP. You put the tasks of maybe creating MVP to your feature backlog, and then you start to work with it, like it.
Okay. Yeah, I think we need to move on. Sorry, I'd like to ask more questions, but we're a bit late, so maybe we can.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Sorry about my presenter notes.
No problem. Technical things happen.
It's all right. We have more on the same subject. I mean, it's a variation on the same subject tomorrow, more or less this hour. So you'll be knowing more about this. And just
Thank you.
a word more.